Hi, John with eTrailer. If you're ready for a bike rack or a cargo carrier for your Audi, but you don't want the looks of having a hitch on your car all the time, well, check out what we installed on this Audi today. This is the Stealth Hitches Hidden Rack Receiver Hitch, and we installed it on our 2023 Audi Q3. Now, more than likely, the biggest draw to this hitch is the fact that you can retain a factory look on your Audi until it's time that you need to use this. Now, this receiver hitch is only for bike racks and cargo carriers. This is not rated to tow with. You can't just put a ball mount inside of this. Now, if you are thinking that you're going to do some part-time towing in the future, we have another kit on our website that's going to include everything you need. The ball mount, the wiring, and it'll also include this receiver hitch as well. So let's talk about some of the functions of this hitch. To install your receiver hitch, you're going to see it's going to have this stud up here, and it's going to just lock into place on the Audi. Now, once it's up here, of course, you're ready to use your cargo carriers or bike racks. And when you're done using it, there's going to be a knob on this passenger side. You just rotate it, and this drops back out. Now, let's going to put this back, get this mounted up, and we're going to see how this hitch fits on our Q3 here. We like to start with ground clearance to see how it's sitting today. So from the ground to the top of the inside collar, we're looking at 15.5 inches. And then for your accessory that you're going to put on here, we like to get a measurement from the center of the pinhole to the edge of our fascia. In this instance, the pinhole is actually past our fascia. So you can put this on and be rest assured here that most of your accessories that have a stowed fold-up position are going to fit on the Audi without impacting the back of your bumper. Now, one very nice feature is the kick sensor on your Audi is still going to work even with the hitch on, or even when it's loaded up with a bike rack. Now, speaking of accessories, the weight capacity of this hitch, it's a nice number. It's 600 pounds of tongue weight rating. That's going to be the force pushing down on this hitch. So you're going to have plenty of room if you want to load up a cargo rack with all of your gear, or it's enough weight even for a 4-bike bike rack. Now, one of the nice features I do like about the Stealth Hitch is that it's lockable. You're going to have a lock cylinder on this left side, on the driver's side up here, and you could lock it. So that's going to lock your accessories into position. If you have a locking anti-rattle clip here, that's double the security features for any accessories that you put on. Another nice feature is you're going to get a rubber plug that's going to fit inside the rack receiver up here when you're not in use. It's going to keep the dirt and grime out of that cylinder. So the final thoughts on the Stealth Hitch. I think this is a great option for the Audi. Stealth Hitches is a premium hitch with a lot of nice features on it, but it comes down to either the powder coat finish on it, the reinforced collar, and their welds. Their quality really is second to none, and it's just a great fit for the Q3. I think the height is good. It's going to have plenty of options for your bike racks and cargo carriers and other accessories like that. So this is a win-win in my book. Now, as far as installation goes, this gets pretty involved. It is rated, they rated a 10 out of 10 for difficulty. But the Audi actually was pretty okay with us today. We didn't have too many problems installing this hitch. So you are going to have to remove the entire rear fascia here. And other than that, though, we're just going to be removing some bolts and bolting it back on. There's no cutting, no drilling. The Audi is already cut out on the bottom here for a receiver hitch. So it really is, the biggest task is going to be getting the fascia removed, and we've got some tips for you to how to get that off and how to plan your day out when you do this. So if you want to see how we installed this hitch on the Q3, stick around, we'll show you right now. Now, before we begin our installation, there's a few things that we need to think about. We will be removing this entire rear fascia, so you want to have room for that somewhere. It will be coming off completely. You can set a blanket on the ground, and then you'll be able to set that off to the side. Second, if you got your rear hatch open, take your floor panel out because we're going to need to access the inside of this later on. Let's get this hitch installed. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the tail lights. Now, these plastic covers here are a little tricky. But you're going to need a plastic trim tool. I like these little triangle things here. Push in on the plastic and they'll kind of click out. There's going to be a pin right here, so we can come in and just kind of pry up, and they're going to pop off. That's going to reveal 2 T25 screws that we need to remove. Now before we pull the tail light out, I do want you to notice we've marked off these areas with blue painter's tape just to avoid scratching the paint. This is done on both sides. It's a good idea if you want to do it at home as well. Now to remove the tail light, we're just going to simply slide this back. I've got my pry bar here just in case we need it. It's going to come straight back. What I like to use is my forearm over here. Kind of wiggle this back, and it's not working. There we go. So there's 2 alignment tabs back here that keep that in to these grommets. We're going to have a plastic push pin connector here. Just push that down and pull back to disconnect. Now everything we did on this side, repeat it on the passenger side as well. Now once you have both of your tail lights out, we need to remove this center scuff panel here. This can be removed just by picking it straight up. Now you might need to use a trim panel tool to get underneath of it. Just work your way along to the other side. Now the rubber seal here is going to be holding the front in, so you might have to peel that back. Just lift up. Take your time. We'll remove that and set it off to the side. Now by removing that threshold, that's going to expose 2 rubber grommets here that we need to remove. Now you're also going to have 1 rubber grommet on each side that was already here before, but we need all 4 of these to be removed. We'll pop that one off and just work our way across. Now inside where the grommet is, there'll be a 10mm nut that we need to remove, but we don't want it to fall down into the cavity. You can take a shop towel and just kind of stuff it inside your socket. That way when you feed it in, it should jam on. And then just work your way across until you have all 4 removed. Now our next steps are going to be identical both on the driver's side where I am and also on the passenger side. So keep that in mind when I'm showing you these. Just repeat the same steps on the other side. We're going to be removing some T25 torque screws, and it's going to be on the inside of the wheel well here. Now the 2 we're going to start with are going to be visible. You're going to have them here and here. Now while you're here, the directions would have you try to fold this back. I found it's easier. There's going to be 3 on the bottom side of the wheel well trim right here. Same size, T25. And I like to take these out, and it helps the wheel well fold up a little bit easier. Now we can come back up to inside the wheel well liner, and we can fold it back, just kind of peel it out of that liner, and there's going to be another T25 bolt right here that we need to remove. Now there's 1 more T25 torque screw we need to remove. It's going to be underneath our wheel trim here. So what we're going to do is get your fingers behind the fender well panel, and we're going to apply pressure outward. And there's going to be some clips. You can feel them as it goes up. I'm just going to slide my hand up here. You can catch the bottom side of these clips. I'll show you them in just a second here. It doesn't have to come off completely. And we'll show you the clips I'm talking about right here. This is the tab that goes in. These are the clips that I'm feeling with my fingers, and I'm just kind of pinching them, and it helps it come out. We're going to get some shop towels, and we're going to prop this open up here. Then we're going to remove this T25 torque screw. Now working underneath the Audi, we're going to work along the perimeter of where the fascia meets the frame back here. The number of torque screws are going to differ for your model, but just work your way around the perimeter until you get to the other side. These are all going to be T25. Now keep in mind, since we removed those earlier screws, these panels can come out for right now on both sides. Okay, it's time to remove the rear fascia, so make sure you have that area cleared and ready for it. Also, you're going to need some help for this to be able to get both sides off. I got Joe from eTrailer today helping me out on the other side. We're going to take the panel here, we're going to just kind of pull out, and these clips are going to want to pop out. Down here at the bottom, we kind of need to put like a downward pressure and go out, okay? Up here, at the tail light housing, you're going to have some clips. And we kind of need this to loosen up. So we're still going on an outward pressure. Okay. Now you're going to have all of these studs that where we removed the 10mm nuts earlier have to come out, and that's what you heard, that noise. They were coming out of these access holes. Now don't pull too far. You're going to have electrical connectors that need to be unhooked. And it looks like they're over here on my side, on the driver's side. We have a black and a brown. We're just going to push down on the center and pull out. This brown one's going to have a locking tab on it. We're going to slide the red tab backwards, push down, and pull out. And now we can set the fascia off to the side. Now before we remove our bumper beam, we need to remove the cellular antenna back here. That's going to be a 10mm socket that we can loosen up, but it's also going to be attached across our bumper beam, the crash beam back here. You can take a plastic pry tool or whatever type pry tool you have. We're just going to pop these off for right now. In our kit, we're going to have some hardware that's going to help us relocate this cellular antenna. Get this out. And there's no need to unhook it. We're just going to swing it out of the way, and we'll reattach it later. Now with a 13mm socket, we can remove the 4 bolts on each side that hold our crash beam on here, and we can discard them. We're not going to be reinstalling any of this hardware or the bumper beam itself. And you can pull these all the way out and not worry about it falling down. This is going to have a little tab that's holding the beam on from when they assembled it. You can lift this off and set it off to the side. Now before we raise our hitch into position, I wanted to take a real close look at the hardware that you're going to get with your kit. You're going to get enough for both sides here, but you're going to get 2 plates per side. These plates are going to sit on top of your hitch once we get it up on the car. And as far as the hardware goes, I like to set myself up in advance. You're going to get a cap screw here. You're going to get a flat washer and a lock washer. Put the lock washer on first, and then the flat washer. Then you can raise the hitch into position and get it bolted down. Now this part could be a little tricky where you have to hold the hitch and then run the hardware in. Now once you get the plates and bolts on both sides and they're still loose, there's going to be a small adjustment that you can make left to right to make sure that your hitch is centered. We're just using basically the latch for the rear hatch and just looking down, and you're going to get about a 1/4 inch of movement left and right. So make sure you're all centered up, and then you can snug your bolts up and torque them to the specs that you're going to find in your installation manual. Now, our new location on our hitch isn't going to require this bracket, so we can go ahead and take this off. It's going to be your 10mm They're not on there real tight. And in our kit, we're going to have new hardware to install this with. We're going to get the hex bolt, flat washer, and a nylock lock nut. We're just going to put the washer, run this down, and then just secure this. So there's not really any instructions on how to orient this antenna, so I kind of left it off at an angle just to protect our connector over here. And then as far as reconnecting our wires, because clearly they're not going to be running across anymore, we can orient this whatever's going to make sense, really. These are just zip tied on here, so you could cut the zip ties and get this to fit however you like. That's going to work for us. Okay, so our hitch is torqued. We have our cellular antenna mounted. Next step is going to be installing the rack receiver. This is how you're going to get it in the kit. And they're already going to kind of have it set up for you, where the handle is going to be going towards the passenger side. And this is how you want to run the bolts as well. If you pop this plug off, you're going to have your keys inside of there. Okay, and we'll just leave this off because we're going to hook this up later. So what you need to grab is a 15/16 socket and open-end wrench. And we're just going to line up the holes in here. Might be a tight fit because of the powder coating. Run the bolts through. Snug them up and tighten them to the specs that you're going to find in your installation manual. Now from here, technically your hitch is installed. The only thing we have to do is reinstall the fascia in the reverse order that we took it off. And we're going to bring it up close, and we're going to get the electrical connectors hooked up first. And then we can line up the studs here. Now when reinstalling your 10mm washer nuts back in the car like this, I like to use a little piece of that painter's tape that we used earlier, and I'll stick it on the head of that and then force the socket down over it. What that's going to do is keep you from dropping it inside the body cavity here. Also, the tape, sometimes, most of the time, it'll stay on there, so if you ever need to take this apart again, it won't be so hard to get it removed. Now once you have your rubber plugs installed, before you install your scuff panel here, just notice you have two rails on the back of this, and you need to line those up with the studs on the inside of your Audi here and here. So that's just going to slide down over it. Otherwise, it just pushes down and snaps back on. Now we've got our fascia buttoned back up on both sides. Really didn't run into any problems with that, but I wanted to show you when reinstalling your tail lights, you got these two tabs here, and we're going to be aligning them with this. So what we're going to do is hook the connector back up and then loop the wire back through the wire catch right here. And then you're going to want to make sure everything's lined up, and then give it a push. You'll actually feel it kind of click into position. And if it's not lined up, it's not going to click into position. You pull back on it just a little bit and make sure that it's there. And then you can reinstall the fasteners. And then one of the last things I wanted to show you when reassembling it is these plastic panels that cover this. They're just kind of weird how they go back in. You're going to have these two pins here, and so they line up, but what you have to do is kind of push back towards the taillight and in at the same time, and they'll snap back into position. They're easy as long as you know what to do. So other than this, The car is put back together. If you want to we're going to put our floor panel back in, and that's going to complete the installation. So that'll do it for us, the look at the Stealth Hitch, some of the features of the Stealth Hitch that we installed on our 2023 Audi Q3.